A missing Wisconsin teenager, the center of a nationwide search, is found alive. I'm Dannika Lewis, live from her hometown, where she is finally back with her family.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning. We're going to get right to that best news of the morning up in the town of Barron, where we expect an update from investigators later this morning on Jayme Closs, found safe and alive. 13-year-old Jayme was last seen at her home in the town of Barron back on October 15th, 3 months ago. She was found in the town of Gordon, about 65 miles north of there. We have team coverage of this developing story this morning. We're going to start with my co-anchor Dannika Lewis, who is live in Barron. Dannika.
Leah, good morning. Now, the Barron County Sheriff initially planned to update us on this search for Jayme Closs next week, but that, of course, has been moved up. We will hear from him this morning at 10 o'clock after thousands of tips led to the one that really counted. Now, Jayme turned up about 4:45 yesterday. Our news partners at WCCO in Minneapolis say a woman was walking her dog when Jayme approached her, saying she needed help. Jayme's family says that she was treated at an area hospital last night before reuniting with loved ones who spent the previous 87 days wondering whether they would ever see her again.
There was rumors earlier today, and I prayed and prayed they were true, and they come to not be true, and I just shut myself totally down because I thought today was going to be the day. Then to find out 2 hours later that she was found, I just cannot believe this.
Douglas County deputies did take a suspect into custody about 10 minutes after finding Jayme. There are no details, though, on who that person is or whether they will be charged in the murder of Jayme's parents. You may remember they were both found dead in their Barron home the day Jayme went missing. Now, we hope to learn more about that suspect at a press conference. Again, that is 10 o'clock this morning. It will be live here on News 3 as well as over on channel3000.com. Now, this break in Jayme's case comes months after the investigation began, and I want to turn it over to my colleague Christina Laurie, who has more on the timeline that led up to this tip that really changed the tide here. Christina?
Dannika, that's absolutely right. This caps off 3 months of searches for Jayme, an effort that involved thousands of volunteers and spanned the entire country. Now, the Barron County Sheriff's Department says this day would not have been possible without 3 months of help. Here's a timeline of those search efforts. It was back on October 15th that Jayme's parents are found murdered in their home in Barron, Wisconsin, and Jayme first goes missing. A week after that initial disappearance, the Barron County Sheriff asks for volunteers to help search for evidence. 2,000 people show up, including 2 Middleton firefighters. In December, the Wisconsin Crime Lab here in Madison tests hundreds of pieces of possible evidence in the case for forensic clues. The Sheriff's Department says they're moving away from their 24/7 search efforts as the number of tips related to Jayme's disappearance begins to taper. After a quiet December search-wise, Carl's Transport and Southside Design created a semi-trailer last week to travel the country with Jayme's missing person picture on the side to raise awareness yet again. Then after 87 days after her initial disappearance, Jayme is found alive in Gordon, Wisconsin. That's 65 miles north of her hometown yesterday. Again, we'll learn more details from the sheriff's office at 10 o'clock this morning.
Incredible news there. You heard Dannika say that we are going to carry that press conference live here on WISC TV and over on Channel 3000. Of course, we're going to check in with Dannika again and Christina for updates as the morning goes on. For now, though, thank you, Christina, and thank you, Dannika. All right, we are also hoping to learn more about an investigation developing over in Walworth County this morning. County Road J in that county is back open after reports of a large police presence at a home there in the town of East Troy. Franklin police are heading up that investigation, though the details are really limited at this point in the morning. Officers tell us the public is not in any danger, though they could not confirm if there was a death at that home. What we do know is this incident is not related to the Jayme Closs investigation. We're going to keep you updated as we learn more on this situation over on channel3000.com and throughout the program. All right, 5:33 your time now. Over to Hattie with a look at our first alert forecast this morning. Hi, Hads.
Good morning, Leah. We're starting with temperatures in the teens this morning. Take a look at some of the numbers. 18 here in Madison, 16 in the Dells, 19 in Janesville, as well as Mineral Point and Lone Rock. Now, we do have a light southerly wind. That's a change over the last couple of days. Northwesterly winds have switched around to the south, southeast this morning. They'll help us warm up a little bit more today. So as you head out the door today, you'll probably want the sunglasses. We have variably cloudy skies, some sunshine from time to time, temperatures climbing to highs right around 33 later on this afternoon. So a little bit milder than it was yesterday. Let's get a peek at those traffic maps this morning. We'll see if anything has changed in the area. And things are still looking pretty quiet, although there are some brake lights showing up on Stoughton Road near the Beltline. Otherwise, no accidents to report. Looks like you're still traveling at posted speeds as you head into Madison.
All right, thank you so much, Hattie. 5:34 your time now. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers will miss their first paycheck today as the partial government shutdown enters day 21, tying for the longest ever. President Trump is back from Texas this morning after pushing for his border wall there yesterday. National reports say the president is considering using disaster relief funds put aside for places dealing with hurricane damage to build his wall. Last night, the Senate voted to provide back pay for impacted workers when the shutdown ends. The House is expected to vote on that provision later today. Low-income families who depend on help from the federal government to keep a roof over their heads might run into some problems with their leases soon. That's because the Department of Housing and Urban Development hasn't been able to renew more than 1,600 contracts with building owners who rent to poor people due to the government shutdown. Those contracts cover 130,000 households, many of which include elderly tenants or people with disabilities. Hundreds of Madison residents also rely on those federal programs. Dane County owns at least 86 units that are reserved for public housing. Back here in Wisconsin, State Representative Jimmy Anderson is officially filing a lawsuit to void the bills passed during the lame duck session. A crash in 2010 left Representative Anderson paralyzed. He can't sit in his chair for more than a day without having health problems. He says on the day of the vote, he was on the assembly floor at the time scheduled by Republican leadership, waiting to vote on the proposed legislation. But after waiting for over 8 hours, he had to go home to get out of his chair for a bit. He woke up the next day to see lawmakers started the special session after a 14-hour delay at 4 a.m. with almost no warning.
And I think that there is a significant public interest in ensuring that individuals with disabilities are able to fully participate in the legislative process. I think that the court would find that a much more compelling argument rather than saying, well, maybe this person's vote would or would not change the overall outcome. What's important is that people with disabilities actually have the ability to fully participate in the process.
A coalition of liberal-leaning groups has also filed the lawsuit, hoping to void the laws passed by Wisconsin Republicans that took power from the governor and attorney general. Conservative attorney Rick Essenberg says the lawsuit faces long odds because, quote, courts are unlikely to aggressively interpret the law and inject themselves into the legislative process. Governor Tony Evers will close out his first week in office by visiting the troubled Lincoln Hills Youth Prison up in Irma today. The governor said in a statement he wants to better understand the problems at that facility. Current plans call for Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake prisons to be closed by 2021. Both have been the subject of lawsuits and scrutiny in recent years. Last year, Governor Walker shut down the prisons in favor of a series of county-run regional facilities. There is a plan to repurpose Lincoln Hills into a facility specializing in drug treatment. And looking ahead to the weekend, the governor and his wife, First Lady Kathy Evers, are inviting you to a housewarming party at the executive residence. The event will include a walkthrough of the home and its grounds. It is free and open to the public, no ticket needed. That's happening at that address right there on your screen from 1 until 3 tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, Wisconsin's first African-American lieutenant governor will be the keynote speaker at UW-Madison's Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebrations later this month. The university announced Mandela Barnes will speak in the Great Hall at the Memorial Union on January 21st. Prior to becoming lieutenant governor, Barnes served as the chair of the state assembly's Black and Latino caucus during his time as a state representative. All right, we are just 10 days away from Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and as part of this year's festivities here in Madison, there will be a new forum focusing on Dr. King's activism and how it can be used for social action in today's world. Percy Brown organized the event and sat down with Neil Heinen for this week's On the Record. He says he wants to bring attention to the causes King was taking up at the end of his life and how it relates to today.
He was basically bringing a charge to the nation to move from a thing-oriented society to a people-oriented society, but also talked about this idea in his mind of the three evils that were continuing to perpetuate and plague the United States of America, which is militarism, racism, and economic exploitation. And if you look where we are today in 2019, a lot of what he was talking about towards the end of his life seems to have come back around full circle.
You'll be able to watch the full interview at 10:30 Sunday morning on For the Record. All right, 5:38 your time now. Up next, despite the name, critics are saying there's actually little upside to the new movie starring the odd couple of Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart. Our Will Loper has a preview when News 3 This Morning returns.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. Temperatures in the mid to upper teens this morning across southern Wisconsin, so a little bit milder than it was yesterday. We can think a southerly wind overnight for those warmer temperatures this morning. Not much of a wind chill to report, so as you get the kids ready to head to the bus stop, you won't have to worry about strong winds today. Bus stop weather forecast has variably cloudy skies with highs climbing just a little bit above the freezing point this afternoon. Have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you so much, Hattie. 5:42 your time now. Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart probably aren't two actors you'd expect to see in the same movie, but they're teaming up to tell the true story of an ex-convict forming a bond with a paralyzed billionaire in a new movie out this week. Will Loper has a preview of The Upside.
We're gonna find you someone you like.
Let me be your arms and your legs.
I love that. All right.
Penthouse.
You need to wait your turn.
Relax, it's not a holdup. Just sign this from the police.
How would I sign it?
I don't know. Slowly. Well, don't your arms work?
They don't.
You can move your mouth.
As can you. I need assistance.
How much does it pay?
Kevin Hart stars as a man who takes on a caretaking job for a paralyzed billionaire, played by Bryan Cranston.
I specifically said nothing for my birthday.
I'm sorry you gotta have a surprise party in your huge mansion. Some of us got real problems. I'm fighting to see my son.
And whose fault is it? Is it yours, or is the world out to get you?
The Upside is rated PG-13.
What else you want to do? The ball.
Dell made a mess.
Looks interesting to say the least. We'll ask Will about it coming up later. And coming up around 6:15, he's also going to have a preview of A Dog's Way Home. Okay, still ahead, a company that just got an incentive package to stay in Wisconsin is letting the state know they're still planning to lay off dozens of workers. We'll have the latest on that coming up. And with the recent dip in temperatures, local homeless shelters are doing all they can to keep people out of the cold. We'll have more on those efforts. That's when News 3 This Morning returns.
Good morning from the Hattie-O Patio on this Friday morning. Pretty quiet weather to start the last day of the work week. Nothing showing up on our radar map around here. Take a peek at that Doppler track showing you that things are pretty quiet, but we'll zoom the map out a little bit. I'm watching a developing storm system that's going to track across the southern and central parts of the United States, bringing a lot of precipitation. And as you know, there's plenty of cold air in place, so there will be some snow with this particular system. Here's a look at the winter weather bulletins that are in effect for this storm system. Winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories extend all the way from eastern parts of Colorado all the way to the mid-Atlantic. This storm is going to track due east over the next 48 hours. No advisories or warnings in place for southern Wisconsin. We are going to be on the far northern edge of this system, with most of our area not even picking up any precipitation. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. A couple of areas of low pressure, but the one to the south is the one that we are watching. The area of low pressure in southern Minnesota and Iowa later today is really going to be dwarfed by the one to the south, so it's going to fall apart, and the main storm system will track to our south. Now you see those bands of snow working their way across parts of Iowa into Illinois, just up to the state line in some instances, but most of the precipitation will stay to our south from this particular system. Things are going to be then very quiet for the second part of the weekend, with some sunshine in the forecast and continued mild temperatures. Here's a look at the GFS forecast model, snow potential. And again, a pretty big winter event for some folks. St. Louis over to Indianapolis. you're looking at possibly over a half a foot of snow with this particular system. But again, those amounts do diminish pretty rapidly. Only a couple of inches of snow possible in Chicago. Here's a live look from the Edgewater Skycam. No issues with fog this morning. Normal high is 26 this time of the year. We're forecast to be a little above that today, hitting in the low 30s. A little chilly this morning, though. Temperatures are still in the teens across southern Wisconsin. Southerly winds all night, though, keeping temperatures just a little bit warmer than they were yesterday. And we have that light south wind with us through the day today, so that'll allow temperatures just to get a little warmer. Your pinpoint city forecast highs today, 32 in New Glarus, as well as Stoughton. Fort Atkinson tops at 33 degrees. Variably cloudy skies expected. There will definitely be some high-level clouds streaming in from the north or from the west today with that storm system moving in. But we're not going to see any precipitation today. 32 for the high in Mineral Point, 33 in Muscoda, and to the north, Mawson tops at 32. Nacita and Adams hit a high of 31. Now here's a look at your forecast for that extended time frame. As we look out 7 to 10 days, very quiet around here. In fact, no precipitation in the forecast next week until next Friday. So if you are a snow lover, want to do some of those snow sports, this is really not the forecast for you.
Yeah, but here's the upside, Hats. We were talking about how we haven't seen single digits in nearly a year, 11 months. Doesn't look like we're going to see them anytime soon.
No, they're not in the forecast.
That's wild.
The real extended forecast models are predicting a cool down towards the end of the month, so we'll continue to watch that. But for right now, things are quiet.
Yeah, count your blessings.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
5:50 your time now. 74 workers up in the Fox Valley are trying to prepare for what's next when Kimberly-Clark closes its Neenah plant by the end of May. The Department of Workforce Development announced that news yesterday. The paper products company will start phasing out those jobs in mid-March with plans to fully close by the end of May. This is a different facility than the nearby Fox Crossing plant. That's the one Governor Walker kept open with an executive order at the end of last month. With temperatures dipping this week, homeless shelters in Madison are welcoming in more people. Porchlight isn't turning anyone away, and they've made sure to open their overflow spaces to make sure they have room. This year, working with a day shelter, they are making sure there is always a place to go.
We recently changed our hours to coincide with the Beacon so that our guests are out in the cold as little as possible. Literally, the time that the Beacon closes is the time that we open, and vice versa in the morning.
Right now, Porchlight is working to gear up for their guests when they aren't in the shelter, collecting things like coats, hats, gloves, and boots. A Milwaukee County bus driver is being honored for a special kind of act of kindness, this morning. Irina Ivik was on her route one morning in December when she saw a baby wearing only a diaper and a onesie. You're seeing it in her video right there, walking alone on a freeway overpass. It was 8 a.m. The temperature was below freezing, so she stopped her bus, ran across the street, and carried the baby back into her warm vehicle and called for help. Police say the child had been left outside by their mother and was reunited later with their father. Milwaukee Transit says this is the 9th lost or missing child drivers have found in recent years. All right, 5:52 your time now. The roads are looking all clear this morning as you head out the door. We're going to take a couple looks at this morning's traffic as rush hour picks up throughout the show here. And coming up in our next half hour, the city of Sun Prairie is reacting after the companies responsible for last summer's deadly explosion are hit with fines from OSHA. Plus, a live look inside Studio 57 in New York this morning. Coming up later on CBS this morning, Adriana Diaz is reporting live with her team up in Barron, Wisconsin with the latest as Jayme Closs has been found alive nearly 3 months after she went missing. That's coming up right after News 3 this morning.
I'm Dannika Lewis live in Barron this morning, where after 3 months of searching, Jayme Closs is back with her family this morning. She was found alive yesterday, the 13-year-old was, after a nationwide search for her. She was found in the town of Gordon. That's just about 65 miles north of where we are right now, her hometown. Now, the suspect in this case has been taken into custody, at least one person that we know of. It had been 87 days since Jayme had last been seen, and her parents were found dead in their Barron home. Now, we don't know much, again, about that suspect this morning. We do hope to learn more from the sheriff at a press conference. We also hope to learn more about Jayme's condition and, of course, the thousands of tips that were called in during that nationwide search for the missing 13-year-old. That press conference is happening at 10 o'clock this morning. We'll send it back to you.
All right, our Dannika Lewis reporting up in Barron County this morning. Thank you so much, Dannika. Okay, so we always ask you to share your morning with us here on the program, and Terry posted this picture on Facebook. This is a shot from northern Wisconsin. Looks pretty gorgeous up there. Sounds like, according to Hattie, you're going to head up north, though, to see some snow. Her first alert forecast is next.